All right, lads and ladies, and welcome to Big Dave's Big Review with your mate, Big Dave. So then, season 1 of House of the Dragon has come to an end, and would you believe it? It looks like there's going to be a war. Hard to believe, I know. We get yet another burst scene. Our first dragon on dragon action. Yay! And plenty of other interesting stuff as well. So get yourselves comfy and let's have a good old natter about episode 10, The Black Queen. Cue the theme tune! Big Dave's Big Reviews! Big Dave's Big Reviews! So after a little heart-to-heart between Lucerys and his mum Rhaenyra, we see Rhaenys stride in to break the news of King Viserys' death. Now I found Daemon's reaction here to be interesting, as the writers have been doing a good job of subtly showing just how much love and respect he had for his big brother. And that shines through again in this scene, as his first reaction was to assume that the Greens had killed Viserys, almost as if his big brother was too invincible to die of natural causes, like say leprosy. Subtle character development, more of that please television. So Daemon goes on to point out to Rhaenys that she could have flame-grilled the entire Green faction and prevented a war. Her argument that it's not her war to start was a little unconvincing. I'd have much preferred she'd have said something like, "I am no kinslayer." But then again, you can't have it all. Still with Daemon, we get to see how easy negotiations can be when you have a massive dragon standing behind you, looking all threatening like. It certainly seemed to do the job for the two Kingsguard being asked to reaffirm their oaths of loyalties to Rhaenyra. I'm not an expert, but I figure these two likely lads are Sir Steffon Darkland and Sir Loren Marbrand, and the smart lads quickly choose Rhaenyra's side rather than finding out what Dragonfire feels like. Good move, boys. We then get yet another birthing scene, which I think now gives House of the Dragon the record number for on-screen births. Not quite the female grunting I was hoping for, especially when you compare it to Game of Thrones, if you know what I mean. Anyways, it's not really the show's fault. Any of you lot that have read George R.R. Martin's books will know he loves a good birth, and unfortunately, lots of bad ones too. Which is sadly what we get here as Rhaenyra's child is stillborn. Now, will Rhaenyra blame the death of the poor little blighter on the Greens, as it looked like the news of their treachery caused the premature birth? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Next up, we get Sir Eric's arrival on Dragonstone, having fled King's Landing in the previous episode. He duly presents Rhaenyra with her father's crown. Now, I love the music and cinematography in this scene, and Emma Darcy really looked the part wearing that crown. However, we do see that her auntie Rhaenys isn't quite up for bending the knee just yet. Oh, and by the way, how cool is the glowy mappy tabley thing? I bet we all want one of those now. Come on IKEA, get on it. Next, it's Dragon Tally scoreboard time, and it shows the current scores on the doors are 4 dragons for the Greens versus 13s for the Blacks. All in all, these were a couple of lovely little scenes. But next up, we have a scene that drove me absolutely bloody bananas. I'm going to say this slowly, but Otto Hightower turns up on Dragonstone to deliver terms to Rhaenyra and Daemon. I mean, you what, mate? We're meant to believe that Otto Hightower, the hand to the newly crowned King Aegon, and his granddad, by the way, would think that it was a good idea to rock up to the home of the woman whose lifelong ambitions he's just stolen, with no dragons and very few men to protect him. I mean, really. I can picture right now the supposedly cunning Otto saying, "My king, allow me to sail over to the Dragonstone with just enough soldiers to garrison a kebab shop so that I can present your terms to them. I'm sure they won't be upset enough about the whole throne stealing thing to, take me hostage or butcher me like, I don't know, Daemon just did to Vaemon Valerian." But no, it turns out this plan's actually bloody genius, as Rhaenyra lets this politically vital opponent just deliver his message and leave. What is she bloody doing? I get that she promised her dad that she'd protect the realm, and that showing restraint can be a great virtue in leaders, but this is just taking the piss. Now, I'd never defend laying hands on a woman, even if she does scratch a new car, but I can sort of see why Daemon gets a bit choky with her in private after this display. I mean, I was raging at the telly, and Mrs. Big Dave was in agreement too for once. Right, time to calm down. I'm sure all this made sense to the writers when they were locked away, having their little writing session, and not everyone can be good at their jobs all the time. I mean, look at my apprentice little Chris for proof of that. Okay, let's move on. The sea snake, Corlys Velaryon, finally wakes up and goes from let's just chill back at home and drift mum with the grandkids to, nah, bollocks to it. Let's kill those treacherous greens quicker than I can change the channel if Strictly Come Dancing comes on. Still, he swears loyalty to Rhaenyra and informs her that the Triarchy have been destroyed and that he's garrisoned the Stepstones, which gives him total control over the narrow seas. The way I think of it is, if King's Landing is London, then the narrow seas is the Thames estuary. Google Maps it if you haven't got a clue what I'm talking about. Basically, nothing gets down the river to the capital without Corlys's say-so. Well done him. After some chit-chat, Rhaenyra finally decides to send her lads Lucerys and Jacaerys off on their dragons to deliver messages to House Baratheon and Stark respectively. But before they leave, she gets them to swear that they'll only act as messengers and not warriors. I hope the Greens get the memo. Right, next up we have Matt Smith spitting some sick Valyrian bars. His audience appears to be the dragon Vermithor, and if I were to judge, I'd say he didn't look massively impressed. Maybe dragons prefer something with a bit more tempo. Why is he doing this? I don't know. My guess is that since Vermithor is currently riderless, having not had a rider since King Jaehaerys, you know, the king before Viserys died, maybe Daemon is trying to bond with it. Although that's meant to be impossible, since a human can only bond with one dragon at a time. Otherwise, I guess he's at least trying to become pals with the dragon, so it'll fight for them in the coming war. Could be wrong. Either way, we get a bit of Matt Smith singing and a sight of one of the largest, oldest dragons in the setting. So all good. Next up, we see Lucerys and Arrax fly to Storm's End to remind Boris Baratheon of his family's oaths of loyalty to Rhaenyra, only to find Aemon and Godzilla, Vhagar, are already there. We see early signs that the Greens are a step ahead in the old negotiation stakes. Not only has Aemon arrived earlier than Luke, they've also chucked in a marriage proposal to sweeten the deal. That's just good business if you ask me. The result is, Boris Baratheon gives poor Luke a grilling, but to be fair to him, does also prevent Aemon from taking one of his eyes. And speaking of eyes, Aemon's gone full Bond villain now by having a sapphire replace the one he lost. Now I'm more of a ruby-eyed bloke myself, but each to their own. Hopefully they're already casting a white cat for him for season 2 to complete the look. So Luke heads home, but not before noticing that Vhagar is missing and that Arrax is reacting strangely. I thought it was to the storm, but I could be wrong. Not long after liftoff, the pair are attacked by the absolutely fucking enormous Vhagar with Aemon on board. Just a reminder that Vhagar is the oldest and biggest creature alive, what with the death of Balerion. And credit to the effects team, they really get her massive size right in the show. Now it appears that Aemon was just trying to scare little Luke, but Vhagar's old, cranky and has other ideas, especially after Arrax disobeys Luke and fireballs her in the face. Indeed, both lads are clearly struggling to control their dragons, and there could be a number of reasons for this. They're both young lads, they haven't got much experience with their dragons yet. Maybe the dragons haven't had a good dragon or dragon fight in many years, so fancy a pop at each other. Or maybe it's the storm driving them silly. Who knows? Certainly not me. Either way, old Vhagar munches down hard on poor Arrax, resulting in Luke falling to his death. Now Mrs. Big Dave asked me why Aemon didn't get Vhagar to fly down and save Luke. But being the authority I am on dragons, I explained they don't work like that. I don't know why that's the case, but I'm probably right, so didn't bother trying to explain it. So given what's just happened, it's time to revisit the dragon scoreboard. Not only is it now changed from 12 versus 4, also makes you realise the size, power, fighting ability of the dragons will play a big part in the war to come. And in Vhagar, the Greens have the big mama of them all. Not to mention an obvious badass riding her in Aemon. Now I'm too old to become an Aemon Vhagar fanboy. Actually, balls to it. I'll do as I wish. I'm declaring myself head of the Aemon Vhagar fan club now. Membership open. Now back to the demise of poor Luke and Arrax. My first thought was, would this have happened if Mummy had taken Otto as hostage? Probably not. So will Rhaenyra realise this in season 2? Feel some guilt? Dunno. But she probably should. It's no use doing moody stares into the camera after your nipper and his dragon have been munched up. And that's basically it for the episode. Looking back, did much really happen in an entire hour of season-ending telly? Well, short answer is no, not really. And that's sort of how I felt about episode 9 as well. Feel free to check out that review on my channel. It was my first vid, my voice sounds terrible, so go easy on me, would ya? Now, if I were in charge, and let's be honest, it's a shame I'm not, I would have stuck most of episode 9 and 10's plot together into a final episode and free up an extra episode for more time to expand on some of the stuff we saw earlier in the season. This would also give us one more episode of Viserys, which is a winner in anyone's book. I'm not going to have a massive moan about the pacing of Season 1. It must be a tough task when you consider we've not even really reached the actual plot of Fire and Blood, the book that the show's based on. Clearly, the writers were forced to restrain themselves to not starting a war until the final season of the series, but it left me feeling a bit blue-balled all the same. As I say, could we not have spent more time with the key children now that they're maturing? Find out a bit more what motivates them? Maybe spend a bit of time with the mysterious Helena and her spooky predictions. A whole host of little plot lines spring to mind that we could have explored if they'd compressed episode 9 and 10 together, but I guess you also run the risk of putting in too much filler if you're not careful. Still, me and Mrs. Big Dave enjoyed the episode. I even saw her put her phone down for a solid 10 minutes, which is basically how I judge whether a show is good or not. And just for reference, she watched some of the early Game of Thrones episodes without even touching her phone. Those were the days. Before I end this review, I'd just like to thank all 11 of you who watched my first ever video released last week. I know the current production quality is as ropey as my plastering, but Big Dave's a trier, lads, and he will get there eventually. In the meantime, the long wait for Season 2 of The House of the Dragon begins. Well, lads and ladies, there's my thoughts for this episode. So now, I'd just like to thank you all for joining me. If you could be a diamond and subscribe to the channel, that would be lovely. Feel free to drop a like on the video too whilst you're at it. I want to wish you all the best. Until next time.